Hi, guys. So, I am here to tell you guys the story or the reality of how my father was unalived by black magic or witchcraft. I know my husband has talked about it a little bit or mentioned something to you guys. And so I told him I want to be the one to say it because this is something that happened 17 years ago. It happened 17 years ago in 2007, and it's not something I've spoken about. A lot of people know my father passed. They don't really know the story of how or the extent of what happened, just my husband and immediate family. So, um it's been 17 years, so I can talk about it now, but it's not something that one goes around talking about. So, my father, a little bit about my dad. He was a very sarcastic guy, but he also didn't take no ish from nobody. Like, he spoke his mind. If he didn't like something or if you're rude to him, he'll check you right then and there. But he was also a loving guy. He was giving. But again, he had that one thing he didn't. My mom said since he was a kid, he was a fighter. He loved to fight, and as he got older, he wasn't a fighter anymore. But I guess it was more so of I'm not gonna take that from you, or he'll fuss you out, cuss you out, whatever he got to do. And he was very sarcastic, and I think that was one of the things that I guess some people probably didn't like about him. So, the year 2007, my maternal grandmother, who lived with us, had just passed away. It was Mother's Day. I remember like it was yesterday. She had just passed away. And that took a toll on us. And we spent a lot of money on the funeral and all that. Come September, we got word that my paternal grandmother, who lived on the island, had just passed. Now, my dad is one of 10 children. He had 9 brothers and sisters. Actually, one brother and 8 sisters. Yeah, one brother and 8 sisters. Um, so he told my mom, okay, we just not too long ago did a whole funeral, spent a bunch of money. Let me just go alone. I'll go alone, and you and the kids can stay back here in the U.S. And my mom thought nothing of it. Just like, yeah, good idea. That's cool. Cool with her. Because she wasn't that close to his side of the family. So, she spoke to them on the phone, said her condolences through the phone, and stayed back home with us. So, before that, my mom had some cousins. One's a close cousin, another's a distant cousin. And they were talking, and that in a distant cousin, the distant cousin told the close cousin that my dad is a dead man walking, and something about he heard something about my dad's coworker, who I guess was into that woo witchcraft, dark magic, was also he was beefing with my dad. He was beefing with my dad real heavy, and I guess he was trying to, probably do something to him or unalive him as well. So I don't know if the two are related or just coincidence. So that's that little backstory. So my dad's back on the island. He's back in Haiti, and he's over there with his peoples. And I remember him calling my mom and saying, "Yeah, everybody's acting a little weird, but everything's okay. We're getting ready to do the funeral. We're taking care of everything." And so we just thought that people probably were just acting a little off because their mother just passed or their relative just passed. And, people just act different when they're grieving. People grieve differently. So after the funeral and the 2 weeks were almost up, my dad ended up calling my mom and saying, "Hey, babe, I'm going to stay an extra week." And I remember my mom saying, "Why would you stay an extra week? Just come back home." And I remember us kids were like, "We miss you, Daddy. Come home." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to stay an extra week. I'll be back. Next week." But I remember my mom talking about it with her sister and saying, that's a little weird that he would take an extra week. He was already been gone for 2 weeks. And so so that happened. And then now my mom, she always has dreams. And I would say those are like warning dreams. Growing up, she would always tell me these warning dreams that she would have. And so she had a dream, not thinking anything of it because nothing had happened yet. She had a dream where it was her and my dad, and my dad came, and he took her hand, and he was gesturing for her to follow him, and she followed him, and he brought her to this place where it was like it was nicely decorated, nice, and it was like lavish food, all this nice food and stuff like that. And they sat down to eat, and my mom was gonna eat out of the food, which is interesting because growing up, I've always heard you do not eat in your dream. I know some people do, but they say you don't eat in your dream, especially from unalived people. But at that moment, my dad wasn't unalived, or at least she didn't think he was. So in the dream, he's gesturing for her to eat. He prepared this nice feast for her, and he was looking at her, but he looked kind of sad, like kind of down. And she didn't get to eat out of the food yet because she was asking him, "What's the matter? Why do you look like that? What's going on?" Trying to, get him to talk, get him to, say what's the matter, because she said he was crying, he was starting to cry, and he seemed down, and he was just talking the way where, like, it was like a goodbye, like, but she's like, "What's going on? You're right here with me. Like, what's going on?" So a couple days later, I come from school, and I see my mom with her cousin and some other people at my house. I see my mom eyes are red, and no one looks happy or anything. And I'm just like, what's going on? Mind you, at that time I'm 16. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? Why? Number one, why are you here? Or are you crying? I've never seen my mom cry besides at her mom's funeral. So I'm like, why is she crying? And then it was hard for her to say, but finally she said, "Your dad is unalive." And I was like, "He's what?" And I remember that day like it was yesterday. It felt so surreal. It's like I was waiting for them to say April Fools in October. It was just, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it because he went to go bury his mom, not to be buried, So, because his mom died mid-September. He stayed for 2 weeks, and he extended the week. So then that put his death in the beginning of October. I don't know if I was supposed to say that word. Put his unaliving at the beginning of October. So then I asked my mom what happened. And, because she wasn't there, she had to hear what they said. Now, another backstory is my dad had land, and I'm guessing it was a nice amount of land. Back then, people get very jealous if you have land. So the dream back then was you come to the U.S., you make enough money, you build your lavish home back there, and you go back home and you live. Now, he had 2 siblings, one in Canada, one in Georgia, and the rest were back in Haiti. So that would put the 3 of them outside the U.S. So he had 7 back then. I don't know if there's jealousy amongst them or whatever, but till this day, we don't know who did it. We don't know if it was relative, distant relative. We don't know what happened. But they told my mom, because my dad had diabetes and he liked to take herbal teas. He had controlled diabetes, and he would take herbal teas. And the word was he drank a herbal tea. Someone gave him a tea, and he drank it. And soon as he done drunk it, he didn't feel too well, so he went back to lay down. He went to go lay down, and he did not wake back up. So that's the story they told us. Now, for the whole funeral, it's international waters. And because he was unalived and not a normal way, this is where, things started to get really crazy. So my mom wanted to take us down to Haiti to do the funeral, but her sister was like, what if it's like a trap for you guys? So how about we